Hi, I'm Jenny Cutler with Excelsior Classes, and in this video I want to take a few moments to talk about the seasons in nature and how they are portrayed in literature in the stories we read. Often when we have a description of a season that takes place in a story, there's a lot of meaning that we can derive in it if we take the time to ponder and to think about it and to pause and dig into that a little bit. So I hope that this video will inspire you maybe to consider those things as you are reading yourself. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Imagine springtime with me. What comes to mind? For me, I live in Michigan, and so we have long, frigidly cold winters. And so by the time spring finally rolls around in April or May, and the temperature warms up, we can throw open our windows, run outside, and I never want to come back in by that point of the year, right? It's so nice and such a relief to have some warmth. And when you think of spring, I think of baby animals and fuzzy chicks and jumping goats and budding trees, right? It's wonderful. You see new life everywhere. Often we describe the four seasons as parallel to seasons in a person's life, right? And springtime being the season of birth, right? Those very, very young years. Similarly, going on to summer's the prime of life, right? There's abundance, there's green, lush vegetation everywhere. It's wonderful, right? The sunshine is what comes to mind. There's supposed to be wonderful, fruitful years. Autumn is the season of harvest, right? You get a rest from your earlier labor and enjoy the hard work with the fruits of that, right? It's usually in a person's life, it's seen as those years that are past your midlife, right? The days are a little bit shorter, they're a little bit slower, it's a little bit colder out, maybe not quite as abundant, right, as the years beforehand, but you're enjoying the harvest of that early labor. And then finally, winter is cold, right? There's scarcity, right? Your gardens are not overflowing at this point, right? There's a scarcity of food. And in a person's life, these are seen as the elderly years. Your winter years are the elderly years. Because they're a little bit slower. Your days are shorter. They're kind of the waiting years. So we can look at that as parallels in a person's life as well, the four seasons. And that's often the case in literature. If you've ever heard the term May-December romance in describing a couple of characters, right? Usually there's a big age gap between the people in the relationship. The character that's referenced in May is usually quite young, and the character that's referenced when we say the December part of the romance is somebody that's a lot older. There's often a lot of irony used in seasons as well. Maybe an author will take a more negative view of the seasons. Maybe springtime is considered mucky and cold and wet, right? And is very frustrating to a character because of all the rain that comes with growing new life. Or maybe the summer heat is oppressive and you just do anything you can to get out of the sun and out of the heat. And maybe winter is, it can be very frigid and harsh and cold, but it can also be still and cozy and soft. So maybe there's a lot of different ways that you can take the seasons in literature as well. And authors will use those very intentionally to show us changes in characters or to drive the plot forward, or to even create a sense of irony in a situation. So let's take a look at a couple of specific examples of seasons used in literature. Now this first one is fairly simple and straightforward, and I chose a children's book for this actually because it just shows it so clearly that I think it's a really great way for us to start off. So we're going to take a look at Charlotte's Web by E.B. White. Such a classic. Who doesn't love Charlotte's Web, right? About Wilbur the pig. And we're going to read about summertime for Wilbur the pig. And we know that, summer in Wilbur's life at this point is fairly peaceful, is straightforward, it's happy. He's not really worried about getting butchered because it's not, being sent to the butcher because it's not fall. Things are generally going pretty well for him, right? He's made friends in the barn. So listen to this description that E.B. White gives of summer on the farm. Okay, and I'm going to skip paragraphs here and there. I'm just going to read a few sentences from a few different places to give you a feel of summer here. The early summer days on a farm are the happiest and fairest days of the year. Lilacs bloom and make the air sweet and then fade. Apple blossoms come with the lilacs and the bees visit around among the apple trees. The days grow warm and soft, school ends, and children have time to play and fish for trouts in the brook. Skipping a little bit. Early summer days are a jubilee time for the birds in the fields, around the house, in the barn, in the woods, in the swamp, everywhere, love and songs and nests and eggs. From the edge of the woods, the white-throated sparrow calls. And then a little bit farther, in early summer, there are plenty of things for a child to eat and drink and suck and chew. Dandelion stems are full of milk, clover heads are loaded with nectar, the frigid air is full of ice-cold drinks. Everywhere you look is life, and even the little ball of spit on the weed stalk, if you poke it apart, has a green worm inside it. So again, you can just see the abundance of life, right? It even says here, everywhere you look is life. Isn't that a beautiful description of summer? I just love E.B. White. But you can just see the abundance going on there, right? There's not a lot of fear about Wilbur's not, anxious or fearful about his fate. Things are going well, right? There's lots of life on the farm. And then to show kind of an example that gives a bit more irony to it, I think this one is so fascinating. We're going to take a look at Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. And in this one, the point of the story we're going to start out at is our main character, Victor, is just getting ready to see his creation come to life. Okay, so this is a building tension is happening right now in the book. Victor is a college student, so you would think, right, as a college student, he's in the summer part of his life, right? Lots of, and he's getting ready to experience the success that he has toiled over and worked at. And, it should be like lots of celebration, right? He's going to have tons of recognition. He's going to be seen as so important. He's made this important discovery. It's just going to be wonderful. And so he should be thriving is what you expect at this point of the story. But it's not summer when the creature comes to life. And that's very significant. So let's take a look. I'm going to read a short little paragraph here from chapter 9 in Frankenstein. Here we go. Winter, spring, and summer passed away during my labors, but I did not watch the blossom or the expanding leaves, sights which before always yielded me extreme delight. So deeply was I engrossed in my occupation. The leaves of that year had withered before my work drew to a close, and now every day showed me more plainly how well I had succeeded. But my enthusiasm was checked by my anxiety, and I appeared rather like one doomed by slavery to toil in the mines or any other unwholesome trade than an artist occupied by his favorite employment. Every night I was oppressed by a slow fever, and I became nervous to a most painful degree. The fall of a leaf startled me, and I shunned my fellow creatures as if I had been guilty of a crime. Sometimes I grew alarmed at the wreck I perceived I had become. The energy of my purpose alone sustained me. My labors would soon end, and I believed that exercise and amusement would then drive away insipid disease. And I promised myself both of these when my creation should be complete. Isn't that interesting? So here we are. He's right on the verge, right around the corner from being able to see his success, right? To see major success. And it's autumn. It's November. It's cold, and the fall of a leaf is startling our main character. This doesn't sound at all like somebody who's at the prime of his life, does it? It's interesting because doesn't this kind of give us a bit of a foreboding and give us a little bit of a foreshadowing feel for what's just around the corner with this creature? Maybe this experiment isn't going to be as joyful as expected. Maybe the results of this are not going to be as wonderful and promising and filled with success as Victor had hoped. Without giving away any spoilers, that's pretty interesting, isn't it? And what a sense of irony. How interesting that the creature comes to life in November with winter right around the corner. And that's all I'll say about that. So you should go read the book. So that gives you a little bit of a feel of how authors will use seasons significantly in literature. And I hope that this encourages you to maybe take the time to pay attention, or to pick up, perk up your ears a little bit when you see a seasonal description come up in something that you're reading. Usually they're there on purpose, and they're important. So I hope that this video was helpful for you. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to email me. My email is Jenny, Jenny, Cutler, Cutler, @excelsiorclasses.com. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video with me.